My wife told the family we were on a break. She was actually cheating. I said nothing. I just signed the divorce papers and let them arrive mid-toast, in front of the man she brought as her friend. For 3 months, my wife Sarah told everyone we were figuring things out. She said it so smoothly, so convincingly, that even my own mother believed her. "It's just a break," she'd whisper at family dinners, squeezing my hand under the table like we were still a team. I sat there every single time and said nothing. Not because I didn't know the truth. I knew everything. I knew about the late-night texts she thought I never saw. I knew about the hotel receipt that fell out of her jacket pocket. I knew the name of the man she was seeing before she ever mentioned him to a single soul. But I stayed quiet. I wanted her to think she was winning because the moment she stopped feeling safe, she would stop making mistakes, and I needed her mistakes. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was pretending I hadn't noticed. Every night I lay beside her, feeling the cold distance between us grow wider, wondering how someone could lie to your face and still kiss you goodnight. There's a specific kind of fear that creeps in when you realize the person sleeping next to you has already left in every way that matters. I wasn't afraid of losing her anymore. I was afraid of what I would become if I let the anger control me, and afraid of a smaller, quieter thing too. The fear that maybe I hadn't been enough, that maybe the failure was mine before it was ever hers. That insecurity sat in my chest for weeks before I finally understood it wasn't about me at all. I started meeting with a lawyer in secret. During lunch breaks I claimed were work meetings. Every signature I put on those divorce papers felt like reclaiming a piece of myself I didn't know I'd lost. But the lawyer told me something that changed everything. 2 weeks earlier, Sarah had quietly requested to be added as a co-signer on a property my late father had left me, using a document she'd asked me to just sign for taxes. I never signed it. She hadn't been planning a breakup. She'd been planning an exit with a payout, timing her affair around an inheritance she thought I hadn't noticed or circling. That was the moment I stopped feeling sorry for her. Then came the family reunion. My in-laws had planned a big dinner to celebrate my wife's promotion, a night filled with toasts, laughter, and forced smiles. I almost didn't go. But something told me this was the moment, the universe practically handing me the stage I needed. Sarah arrived glowing, dressed like she had something to prove, and beside her walked a man she introduced simply as a friend from work. I watched the way her hand lingered near his back. I watched the way her mother's eyes lit up, unaware that this friend was the reason her daughter's marriage had quietly died months ago, and unaware of the paperwork sitting in my jacket pocket. Dinner went on as normal. Compliments about the food, stories about childhood, the usual noise of a family pretending everything was fine. I sat across from Sarah, watching her perform happiness like she'd rehearsed it. Every laugh, every touch on her friend's arm was a small blade sliding into me, but I didn't flinch. I had learned patience. I had learned to wait. Because I knew something none of them did. Something that would change the entire mood of that room within the hour. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. It was the confirmation I had been waiting for, and my hands, for the first time in weeks, were completely steady. The lawyer's email read, "Documents finalized. Delivery confirmed for 7:30 p.m. I checked the clock. It was 7:26. My heart didn't race with fear anymore. It raced with something closer to relief. For months, I had carried this secret alone, holding it like a stone in my chest, waiting for the exact right moment to set it down. Sarah raised her glass then, announcing she wanted to make a toast to new beginnings. She had no idea how right she was about to be. I smiled, genuinely, for the first time in weeks. She mistook it for warmth. It wasn't. "To new beginnings," Sarah said, glass raised high, eyes glowing with the confidence of someone who believed she'd gotten away with everything. The affair, the property, all of it. Everyone lifted their glasses. Her friend stood a little too close beside her, his hand brushing hers in a way that made my mother-in-law's smile falter, just slightly like a crack in glass. That's when the doorbell rang. Not once, but twice, sharp, deliberate. Sarah froze mid-sentence, her toast interrupted. "Who could that be?" she asked, glancing around the table with the first flicker of unease I'd seen on her face in months. Her father stood up to answer it, still chuckling from an earlier joke. I stayed seated, my pulse steady, my expression calm. I knew exactly who was at that door. I knew exactly what envelope they were holding. This wasn't rage. This wasn't revenge born from anger. This was closure delivered with precision. Time to arrive at the one moment she couldn't control, couldn't spin, couldn't lie her way out of. The room fell into an uneasy silence as footsteps approached from the hallway. Sarah's friend shifted uncomfortably in his seat, sensing something was wrong before anyone said a word. A process server walked in, calm and professional, holding a thin manila envelope. "I'm looking for Sarah Whitman," he said, scanning the table. Every head turned toward her. Her face went pale. The confident glow from seconds earlier completely drained away. "This is for you," he continued, handing her the envelope. Divorce papers, signed and filed. Gasps rippled around the table. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her father sat frozen, glass still in hand. And the friend beside her, the man she'd claimed was just a co-worker, looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Sarah stared at the envelope like it might bite her. Her hands trembled as she opened it, scanning the papers with wide, disbelieving eyes. This isn't right," she stammered, looking at me for the first time all night with real fear instead of performance. "We were on a break. You said we were figuring things out." I finally spoke, my voice calm, steady, almost gentle. "There was no break, Sarah. There was only you lying to everyone, including yourself, while trying to quietly sign yourself onto my father's property. I've known for months. I just didn't want to fight you on your terms. I wanted the truth to speak instead." The table erupted into stunned whispers. Her mother turned to her, eyes wide with betrayal of her own. "You told us you two were working through it," she said, voice cracking. "You told us he was struggling to let go." Sarah had no answer. Her friend quietly excused himself from the table, mumbling something about needing air, but everyone in that room already understood exactly who he was and what he meant to her. The illusion she'd built so carefully over months, the loyal wife, the patient daughter, the rising professional, collapsed in less than 60 seconds, right there in front of the people whose respect she valued most. I stood up slowly, buttoning my jacket, feeling lighter than I had in months. "I'm not here to embarrass anyone," I said, though clearly the embarrassment had already done its work on its own. "I just didn't want to keep pretending anymore. I signed those papers weeks ago. I only waited for tonight because I thought you all deserved to see the truth the same way I did, without warning, without a script, and without a signature on a property that was never hers to ask for." Sarah said nothing. For the first time since I'd known her, she had absolutely no clever excuse ready. The silence around that table said more than any argument ever could. Walking out into the cool night air, I didn't feel triumphant or cruel, just free. Free from months of pretending. Free from carrying a secret that had been slowly hollowing me out. Months later, I heard through mutual friends that Sarah's relationship with her friend fell apart almost as quickly as her marriage had, and that the promotion she'd toasted to had quietly fallen through soon after. I used to believe revenge had to be loud to matter. A scene, a scream, a public unraveling I orchestrated with my own hands. I was wrong. The loudest thing I ever did was stay silent long enough to let the truth arrive on its own, exactly when she least expected it, and simply step aside to let it do the talking.